What's up guys? So in this video I'm going to show you how to make your first stencil. Now I'm assuming that a lot of you guys are just starting out. You don't have a lot of resources, or maybe you're working on a small budget and you're working with the bare minimum. And because of that, I'm going to make a stencil in the simplest possible way you can make a stencil, okay? And that is by having a printed image, having a piece of stencil paper, and having a pen, okay? There are other methods to creating a stencil that I'm going to show you later on in other videos. There's different machines that you can use, there's different printers that you can buy, and they range anywhere between like $100 to $200. And you can buy other printers that are upwards of $1,000. So I'll show you guys those options in another video, but for now we're gonna stick with what is simple, okay? So here we go. When you're starting out, the one thing you want to focus on is your outline. That is the most important thing that you need to learn as a tattoo artist that is just starting out. It is the basic, it is the bread and butter, okay? So that is something you need to do repeatedly until you perfect it, okay? So you want to choose tattoos that are very, very simple in design. I recommend things like this, like, you know, like very simple illustration, or maybe some traditional tattoos. Traditional tattoos are really good for practice because they're very simple in design. Only a few outlines, and you can practice quite a bit. Another thing that you can practice on is lettering. So, you know, like your friend's mom's name, or your friend's kids' names and stuff like that. Just like people's loved ones, or, you know, the typical faith or hope, or whatever word that you wanna practice. Especially when the words are cursive. They're really useful to get used to, you know, working on your flow and working on the pulse of your hand and stuff like that. So we're gonna go over that eventually in other videos, but for now we're gonna do this like very simple stencil. And as you guys can see here behind my paper, there is the ink on the stencil paper. And what I'm gonna do is, using this pen, I'm going to trace this image, and the pressure that I apply on this image is going to pick up the ink on the back side of this paper, and it's going to transfer over here. And then the back of this is what we're going to apply to the client's skin. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start. Make sure that you're very accurate with your stencil, because again, this is the information that you're going to be following along when you're doing your tattoo. Also, another thing that is really helpful about practicing making stencils by hand is that you start becoming familiar with the image that you're going to be tattooing. So especially for somebody that's starting out, this is really great practice. Because like I said, you can study the image before you apply it on the skin. And as we check the back, you can start seeing how the stencil's coming together right here, okay? So we're gonna keep going. Okay, so now we have the stencil ready, and this is what it looks like, okay? Now, one thing that I want you guys to know is that in this method of doing the stencil, by doing the stencil here, one thing that I want you guys to know is that when you're doing the stencil like this, you gotta make sure that the printout that you have to make the stencil is exactly the size that you're gonna be tattooing on your client. Why? Because it's gonna be traced in the back, and it's gonna be exactly the same size. Now, using other methods, like using a stencil printer, is going to allow you to, you know, change the size on your computer to whatever size you need. You can print it out, and if it doesn't work out, you can simply just like adjust the size on your computer, print it out again until you get the right size. But when you're doing it by hand like this, you have to make sure that the printout is the perfect size for the tattoo that you want to do before you go on and do all of this, because if not, you're going to be wasting a lot of time doing stencils, trying them on, they don't work, and you have to do this all over again. Okay, so now that we have this ready, we're going to go ahead and put it on the client. So now we're going to take the stencil that we just made by hand, and we're going to apply it onto the client's skin. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the area is fully shaved. So we're going to do that now. We're going to wet I'm going to wet a piece of paper towel with water and soap, with my water and green soap mix. I'm going to apply that onto the skin and shave the area. Make sure your hands are clean and you have clean gloves on. Okay, super important, because at this point you're already starting to touch your client's skin. So you don't want to do it with bare hands. You don't want to do it with dirty gloves. Okay, so clean the area. And then the next thing that you want to do is we're going to clean the area with alcohol. Okay, same thing, we're going to apply alcohol onto the piece of paper. Make sure the area is sterile and ready for the stencil to be applied. Okay, and be thorough. Like, always make sure that you're very thorough with every single one of these processes, because the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. So I always make sure that I wipe a ton of times, and I make sure that the client's skin is like perfect and ready for use. Okay, so now, using this product that I had showed you guys in another video, this is a product that I absolutely love. It's called PROTÓN. It's a professional gel stencil primer. Okay, and you apply this onto the skin before you put the stencil on. It's basically like a very sticky gel. Now that you have the gel on the skin, you're going to take the stencil and you're going to apply it in the desired area. You're going to put a little bit of pressure on it. Remove it, and there's your stencil. Okay, now you're ready to tattoo. One thing that I want you guys to know, and this is something that I did not do in this video, or I didn't show it in this video, is that you want, when you put the stencil on, you want your client to be in a relaxed position, in a neutral position. Okay, you don't, if you're gonna put the tattoo on the arm of the client, you want to make sure that his arm is like relaxed and in a default position. You don't want his arm to be like flexed, because when you move certain parts of your body, what happens is the skin moves along with it and it gets distorted, right? So if you put the stencil on and the skin of the client is not relaxed, maybe when he relaxes his arm, the stencil ends up being a little bit distorted, and you know, the image is gonna come out warped. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're putting your stencil. This is a great stencil, as you guys can see right here. It's perfect and it's ready for tattoo. So I really hope this video helps you guys in your process, in your journey. Again, if you have any questions, always make sure that you leave them in the comment below. I'll make sure that I read through your questions, and if there's anything that I can address, I will do it in the following video. And if you notice that, you know, maybe you've been tattooing for some time and you notice there's something that I missed in this video, you can also let me know, and I'll make sure that I cover it in any of the following videos. Okay, So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.